It's somewhere in our 40s when many of us start noticing this layer of numbness or even panic in serious cases, when you realize that half your life is over, but you haven't really lived your life. Mind you, it's not about what you have achieved or earned so far, but about whether you have really lived consciously. This numbness is not always dramatic. Sometimes it's just this quiet sense you have when you wake up in the morning that something feels off. You don't want to show up for the day. For some people, that numbness shows up in their marriage. Maybe your marriage feels transactional, or you're stuck in some abusive situation, or you're divorced and not stable enough to rebuild. Or maybe you even moved countries and lost both your professional and personal identity. I once read an article about a woman in her 40s living what looked like a completely ordinary life in a metro city. Husband, teenage daughter, corporate routine. But she was increasingly unhappy inside. One day, she decided to learn Spanish. It started small, but eventually she learned enough to move to Spain alone and rebuild her life there. Now, that's an extreme example. Most of us are packing our bags and starting over in another country. But what stayed with me wasn't the move itself. It was that somewhere along the way, she realized that she didn't want to drift through the second half of her life the same way she had lived during the first. And it's not just women, even men go through this. They quietly struggle under the weight of roles and responsibilities, and they give up thinking, these are the cards I've been dealt with, I can't just leave, so what do I do now? And I think that's the real question plaguing many of us. So, how do we lead a more authentic life in the midst of everything going on without letting anyone take it away from us? I believe the shift begins much smaller. It begins with showing up for yourself even in tiny ways. And this is something I'm experimenting with in my own life. Speaking of myself, I'm usually quite a private person. But lately, I've felt this nudge to speak a little more, to not keep everything inside. So maybe this is the space where I'm learning to use my voice again. And maybe in some small way, this is me showing up for myself. So if you feel stuck as well and can't seem to move forward, instead of waiting for inspiration or some grand turning point to save you, what if you build one small structure into your day? Make one promise that you will do every day for your own benefit, be it drinking enough water or taking a walk or sleeping on time, and stay accountable. That one small promise will be something that reminds your subconscious mind you're still here, you're showing up, you haven't disappeared inside your sorrows. You never know, that small action may slowly open you up to more possibilities where you're showing up exactly the way you want. Whether you decide to bloom where you're planted or plant yourself somewhere new, the question is, are you moving consciously hand in hand with life? If not, start by making just one small promise to yourself and show up for it every single day. That, I believe, is the real compounding in life.